So this format is unique. I learned it from MDRT last year, and it's a fast-paced format. So pardon me as I learn this through with you guys as well. So here's what we're going to do. We have 4 speakers today, and all of these are local producers that are MDRT members and MDRT qualifiers. Now, for people in the room that don't know what MDRT is, MDRT stands for Million Dollar Roundtable, and it is in our business, it's the esteemed organization for which a certain level of production needs to be accomplished before you are invited to join MDRT. So these are 4 successful producers from locally, or from our area, that have made that accomplishment. Some of them brand new to the organization, to MDRT. Some of them have been in it for several years. So the format's going to go this way. I'm going to read off the bio and invite the first speaker over. Each speaker has 5 slides. Each slide is on autopilot. So each slide is going to change after 60 seconds, so after a minute. So they have a minute to go through their one idea. So each speaker has 5 slides, so that's 5 sales ideas that they'll share with the group. So that's 5 times 4. We're all in the insurance business. 20! So we have 20 amazing sales ideas that these producers will go through. So again, the speakers, remember that the slides, once I change the slide off your name, your first slide will show up, and from that point, each slide is autopilot at every 60 seconds. So be concise with your message. After we're done with all 4 speakers, we will have a speaker panel. So we'll have all 4 speakers come back and sit on these chairs, and we'll field questions from the audience. And again, if you're shy of the microphone, I've got a little box right here, and you have white papers flowing around, so feel free to drop in questions here as well. So with that, we'll get started. So our first speaker is Merv Matorian, CLU CHAFC CFP. Merv joined State Farm Insurance Company in November 1975 after a successful banking career. During the past 37 years, he has built a profitable multi-line agency while qualifying for State Farm's President's Club in 31 categories since 1978, and is a lifetime member of that club. Merv is also a lifetime member of the Million Dollar Roundtable. He has been awarded the National Quality Award 30 times, the National Sales Achievement Award 33 times, and a charter member of the National Multiple Line Sales Award. Merv received his business degree from UNLV, University of Nevada, UNR, University of Nevada, the Nevada. He has been very active in the community affairs over the years and served as a bank board of director and was a member of the State Board of Wildlife Commissioners. He is married to his lovely wife and agent, Carol Drake, who is also a member of NAIFA. They have 5 children and 6 grandchildren. Merv has given numerous talks around the country to company meetings and life associations, sharing the platform with some of the top speakers in the country. Please welcome Merv.
I do support UNLV basketball, but you have to understand it was called Nevada Southern when I went to college, so a little different.
You ready?
I am. Okay, my first idea, okay, that's the first one up. This is called offense and defense. And everybody we talk to always is considered about their offense. What is their investments, their stocks and bonds, their real estate, and they're so proud of those. And one of the things I point out is before you can win, you have to keep from losing. And what is the reason to make all those yards, all those years, and lose the play on the last game? So what you need to do is have defense, and the defense is life and disability and health insurance, cash reserves, wills, trusts, property, those kinds of ideas. So you have to balance your offense and your defense. If all you can do is score and you can't keep from losing, you're going to lose. That was less than a minute, I guess, huh? I was trying to go fast here. Yeah. This is part of the First Amendment of the Constitution. It's called a free speech, all right? So, all right. This is one of my favorites here. because I'm a little bit sports-minded from time to time. This is, are all your bases covered? Now, I heard this presentation at the round table a number of years ago from a guy who was an ex-major league pitcher, and he was in our business, and he talked about, let's talk about, do you have your bases covered? And he talked about being first base, being disability and health insurance. Second base, life insurance. I call it love insurance. The third base was long-term care, and your home plate was retirement. So he would go through these, and I go through it with clients and bring this up from time to time. Do you have your bases covered? And sometimes you'll make this presentation, and 4 or 5 days later, a guy call and say, we need to talk about third base. I don't think I have that covered. So it's an important deal. It works for me. You need to hear these different ideas, different things that come up, and then say, well, I can put that into my personality or my situation in a different way. And so that's one that I use. This is something I deal with all my clients. Every one of my clients I sit down with, I ask them these 4 questions because I want to know what is the most important thing in their life. Now, if he says it's his Mercedes, I make sure it's covered right, and the life interview is pretty much over. But smart people never ask a question they don't know the answer to, so we know what he's going to tell you. It's his family, his wife, and his children. So I ask him what is his obligations and responsibilities to that. What does he, what does he want to do for his family? And they'll go through their reasons, and obviously you have to help them from time to time. And then third, I said, if you're the guy we read about tomorrow, we pick up the newspaper and you're the one that's gone, well, tell me what you want to happen. What is it you want to happen to your family? And then the 4th question, obviously, is what have you done about it? And then we have to obviously go into all the reasons there that what he needs to do to make sure he gets everything done that he wants to happen. The business people, we talk about, funding their business. What is their exit strategy? Do they have a written plan, for retirement, for key people, for disability, for buyout? Do they have a written plan? Have they sat down and thought about it? And most people don't. They think they're immortal, one, or that their business is just going to go on forever. And we know that that's not true. We know that he probably doesn't want his wife in partnerships with his partner, or if it's a sole proprietorship, we know it ends. So what's his plans? What's his exit strategy? What are his plans in each one of those areas? So we go through that with him and show him how he can fund his buyout, insure key employees. In fact, I just doing one with an accounting firm up in Carson City, changing partners and how we use their universal life policies to fund those different things that's going on. This is a zero line, and it's kind of crude there, but this is one of Money Track's ideas. It's Don Blanton's kind of a creation, if anybody of you've seen that. But he talks about this zero line, the bottom line, seeing you have different classes of people in the world. First, you have your borrowers. So they go below the line, then pay back to the line. Go below the line, pay back, below the line, pay back. They always wind up at zero. The top line, above that is people that save. So they save money up to a point, then they pay cash for something. Save money, pay cash, save money, pay cash. They always wind up back at the zero line. And the line that goes up like this is whole life insurance. The increasing value and internal buildup of permanent life insurance continues to grow, and you can borrow collateralize against that contract, and then pay it back, collateralize and pay it back, and the value just keeps going up. So that was one of those ideas. So that it? That was 5?
Our next speaker is Joshua Lammers. Josh grew up in Grand Haven, Michigan, a town about 10,000 residents on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan. In 1998, he graduated from Grand Valley State University with a bachelor's degree in business management. After searching for a career employment for nearly a year, he realized the economic outlook in Michigan was bleak, and in December 1999, packed his car and moved to Las Vegas. During the early years in Vegas, he usually held down several jobs at a time as a dealer, scheduler at Bellagio, restaurant server, bartender, McDonald's shift manager, and a gourmet cookie dough salesman. Wow. Really? It's awesome. I love cookie. Sorry. In October 2001, he joined the Horseman Companies and opened a scratch office with no assigned policies and began focusing on PNC insurance needs of the employees of the Clark County School District. In 2003, Josh received the LUTCF designation and began shifting some of his focus to life insurance and financial services in order to provide for his clients' needs and also to shelter his growing book of business from dramatic pricing cycles of the PNC market. Throughout his career, Josh has earned numerous NAIFA awards, including the National Quality Award, Multi-Line Sales Achievement Award, and National Sales Award. Josh has also been recognized by Horseman with numerous sales awards and 11 trip qualifications. But the one he's most proud of came in June 2011 when Josh became the second youngest Horseman agent to be included into the Horseman's National Sales Hall of Fame. And would you say the next one after that you found out yesterday, which was confirmed, which we knew was going to happen, Josh is one of the newest members of MDRT Roundtable. So congratulations on that, Josh. With that, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Matt. First thing I want to understand is there's no big revelations here. I keep things as simple and as basic as possible. I've been working with educators in the Clark County School District and now in Northern Arizona for 12 years. I understand what their days are like. If any of you are familiar with Horseman, we're founded by educators, for educators. 95% of my clients are teachers, support staff, administrators. One of the most important aspects of my business is helping them understand how the Nevada Public Employee Retirement System works for them. It's one of the best public employee retirement systems in the country, but it still has limitations. I explain that to them in words that they can understand, how it benefits them and how it's going to, or what their shortfalls are going to be when they retire. I think it's also very, very important that when I tell my educators that I'm going to do something, I follow through and I really do it. A school is a small place. If I upset one teacher, everybody, not only in that school, but in the other schools, are going to find out about it. I do believe that sometimes it's okay to sweat the small stuff. My clients, like I said, are mostly school teachers, school administrators, bus drivers, aides, all of those. We're not talking about high net worth individuals, okay? Most of the qualified contracts I write started out at $50 to $100 a month. Most of the life insurance I write, small term policies. A lot of them come to me because nobody else will take care of them at the amount that they can contribute. And after 8 years, a $25 a month 403B and a fixed account that I met with every single year referred a $1.5 million or $1.4 million family member to me, or a family member that had $1.4 million that we took care of. And so it's okay sometimes to sweat the small stuff. I worked 8 years for that, but it was worth it in the end. Annual reviews. If you're not doing annual reviews, I think you're not doing your clients, yourself, or FINRA and the lawyers what you should. You're opening yourself up to too much trouble. Every time I do an annual review, I'm looking for ways to save my clients some money and reposition that money and uncover new sales opportunities. It's also my opportunity at least once a year to tell them, hey, if I can do this for you, I can do this for your coworkers and your family and friends as well. And like I said, the annual reviews are our protection from the lawyers and from FINRA because we have to know our clients. So most of my clients, like I said previously, start out purchasing initially term insurance because when we're talking about folks that don't have a lot of extra money to spend, I can get the most bang for their buck and protect their families the best with term insurance. Over time, I usually explain the difference. They would like to have a permanent policy but can't necessarily afford it, so we set up on a 10-year schedule, and we can convert that term policy over that period of time. I usually set up that conversion to take place at their annual review. And how many of you get a postcard from the dentist every 6 months? I mean, I've been hearing that for years at these kinds of meetings. You know, we should be scheduling reviews like the dentist does and just telling people this is when you're coming in. If you can't make it, then we'll schedule it for the next week. But make sure that you get your folks used to that annual appointment every year. And then the last thing, those annual reviews lead to increases in contributions. as of the end of last year, between my two offices, I've got one here and one in northern Arizona. I have 1,066 contracts, financial services contracts, life insurance, 403Bs, IRAs, almost $10 million in assets. And even just meeting with, and everybody gets an opportunity to meet with me for their annual review each year. That doesn't necessarily mean they take me up on it, but with that many contracts, it might seem like a lot of work, but what it really is it's a built-in sales machine. Because every year when I do those annual reviews, I'm increasing those contributions and doing those term conversions, and really, I've just got more sales lined up for this year. And every time we get together to do those annual reviews, we're increasing contributions to their accounts when they can afford it and doing the term conversions. So it's, like I said, it's not rocket science. I try to keep it very, very simple, and so far it's worked pretty well for me. So I think that's about it.
All right, next person up is Eric Buckley, LUTCF, New York Life. Eric and I have been friends for a few years now. Eric is a fellow graduate from UNLV, 2002. I graduated in 2002 as well. I don't remember seeing you in school, but we became friends in the business. He's been with New York Life since 2003. He's been in 2006, he was the Agent of the Year with New York Life. He's consistently qualified for counsel with New York Life, and also has been an MDRT member since 2008. So, Eric, the floor is all yours.
Okay, so when Mahesh initially asked me to do this, I was kind of confused what I was going to talk about because I've never really considered myself a great salesperson, if you will. So I'm just going to talk about some things that I do in my business on a daily and weekly basis to help get me where I'm at today. And the first thing is just show up to work every day. So for me, that starts actually pretty early. I'm an early bird. 6 in the morning, I'm on the computer. Then, part of what helps me is to get dressed professionally. There were some sports references earlier, to help kind of get your game face on, to get ready for work. That's something that really helps me, which then leads to preparing mentally. You feel better, at least for myself. Hall of Fame wide receiver Jerry Rice, he said, look good, feel good, play good. So that's kind of how I feel. And then once you get there, have a plan. Have a routine for once you get to the office. Again, I get a lot of stuff that most people are doing at 9 o'clock out of the way at 6. So by the time I get there, I know what I'm doing. And then no matter what you do, feel like you got something done by the end of the day. The next thing is just to find out what you do well. We can all listen to the best speaker in the world, but we can't go out and do an impersonation of them. It just won't be natural. So you got to find out what your strengths are and work off of those. And then also think about the people that you work well with. If you happen to get along with attorneys, great. Work with attorneys. If you don't. You don't have to. There's other people that you can work with. You've got to be able to recognize personality types and adapt. Before I came into the business, I worked at a country club. You'd see the guys, you'd have to recognize in about 2 seconds what kind of day they had. Same thing walking into a meeting, you got to realize who you're dealing with and who's in front of you. And again, be able to adapt accordingly, because type A driver, business owner, doesn't necessarily want to hear about the grandkids. Grandma, that's all she wants to hear about. So talk to her about that for 90% of the time. You'll be all right. After that, joint work, MDRT mentorship. Especially new people, maybe even a couple years in the business, kind of put your ego aside. Be open-minded to working with other people. Don't look at it as I'm losing out on 50%. And I've done a ton of joint work, made a lot of money doing it. I've never, ever once thought about the money you supposedly lost by doing that. Again, sharing a case out in the field may be the best education you can get. You can take all the tests in the world, but I know a lot of people have passed a lot of tests that aren't that great in the field and just can't get it done. So again, team up with somebody that you think could help you out in the field. Okay, referrals. We know there's a million different books on how to get referrals. I don't think one's better than the next. Again, it just has to be what works well for you. So I've never been the type that just sit down there, yellow pad, stare them in the face and ask them who they know. It just doesn't work for me. I'm more likely to just listen to them. Be on the lookout for referrals during the conversation. They may mention somebody that they do business with, or somebody comes into the meeting, maybe jot it down on the side. Come back to it later when the time is right. Not everybody wants to be asked for referrals in the first meeting. I've never done it. It's just not comfortable for me. Some people can do it. That's great. So again, I tend to just be more patient. Things will come up, and if you do a good job for them, they'll be a lot more likely to give you referrals down the road whenever you ask. And it's not always just about getting a name and a number. Okay. Again, kind of go above and beyond. So for me, that's exceeding expectations before, during, and after the sale. So again, you show up maybe better dressed than they expected. During the conversation, maybe you bring more value than they expected. You know, if you're going into a meeting and you're the life person, but you brought a little bit more value to them than they really expected, and got into things that they didn't necessarily want or expect you to do, but they appreciate it. Again, they're gonna know, and they're gonna appreciate that. And then after the sale too, you know, I can't tell you how many clients I've got just because when I talked to them, I said, "When's the last time you talked to your guy?" And they said, "Oh, I don't know, 10 years ago." Right then, I know I've got a new client, because if you're not calling them, somebody else is, right? So after that, I strive to become a trusted advisor, not a salesperson. You know, I don't want them every time the phone rings, "Oh, what's he going to sell me today?" But on the other hand, what you really want is for them to call you. Anytime they have an event in their life, they're calling you for advice, you know, whether it has to do with a financial situation or a business situation or a family issue, that they call you just to get your opinion. And again, all that helps just to solidify the relationship and to have a client for life. We all know that probably the hardest thing to do in this business is to actually get the clients, so we might as well do what we can to keep them.
Next speaker is Jimmy Lee, CFS. He's a managing partner for the Wealth Consulting Group. Jimmy focuses on wealth management and provides multi-generational financial planning for his clients. He also coordinates the planning of employee and executive benefit programs for private and publicly held corporations. Our vision is Jimmy and Wealth Consulting Group's vision is to be considered the best wealth management company of its kind in the minds of their clients and centers of influence. He is responsible and the main principal for the professional development, supervision, and continuing education of the financial advisors in his firm. And several accomplishments, I'm going to point out a few of them. Jimmy was named locally in the top 40 under 40 business executives for Nevada by In Business Las Vegas in 2003. He's a perennial qualifier of the top of the table, MDRT, a very prestigious organization in our business. He's a member of several associations: Planned Giving Council, Financial Planning Association, NAIFA, YEO, and the list goes on and on. So with that, Jimmy, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, before we get started, I wanted to make a couple comments. First of all, big game tonight, so go Rebels against the Aztecs. And then secondly, I wanted to, I got in this business in '95, and this guy over here that you know, Joe Pantozzi, was one of the more experienced and stud members of our firm. So he's been an idol of mine, and he's probably the reason why I got involved with NAIFA early. I've been a member ever since. And so, I think for every year that I've been a member, he's been like a president or something. So thanks, Joe. And since I've gotten to know Mahesh a little bit, I think we're in good hands here in this organization for the next year or two, for as long as you're going to do it. And then lastly, on my 5 sales ideas, I think most of us do a pretty decent job once we get in front of somebody. We all do it differently. But so I want to focus a little bit more on maybe getting in front of some people or helping to get in front of people and some practice management stuff. All right? Yep. All right, so unique value proposition, and again, I have no unique sales ideas. Everything's stolen, but why should someone do business with you and not the competition? Most of the clients that you want to get already have financial advisors, so why you? So financial planners, investment advisors, and insurance agents, to me, are a dime a dozen. A lot of us out there. What makes you different? So you should have a a value prop that I believe makes you unique. Something that I like to say to people is to ask them, especially if they're business owners, if they're the CEO of a Fortune 1000 company, you'd have a CFO working for you, wouldn't you? And you'd ask them what the CFO's responsibilities are, and they say something about financial management, and you agree with that. So I like to come back and say, I don't know why anyone with substantial personal assets or income would treat their own money less important, so we see that all the time. So trying to position ourselves more as financial quarterbacks and personal CFOs versus planners. 9, 8, okay. Become marketable. What is your marketing public relations plan? You know, the people that you want to get as clients know who you are. Think about that. And how do they benefit from working with you? Okay, and what do you stand for? I think these are things that you could add to your value proposition to get to somebody really to understand who you are. And finally, I don't think enough of us do this enough, is to leverage local and national media. It's really easy. I remember back in the old days, before you could afford to hire PR firms or marketing firms, just calling the person at the local business press, and took Valerie Haney out to lunch every once in a while. Cost me $30, and she let me write an article in the business press whenever I wanted to. So not tough to do, not expensive to do. I think it's something we need to do more of. Strategic alliances. I heard Josh talk about target marketing from Horace Mann. Now that's certainly a target market, right? 1,000 contracts. He has a lot of teacher, educator clients, correct? That's a good target marketing plan. I think everybody should have one of those. But also strategic alliances. How many real referrals did you get from people like CPAs, attorneys, P&C insurance agents, whoever your business partners are? How many did you really get last year that you did a lot of business from? Think about that. It's really easy, too, by the way, to get referrals if you do it the right way. You just need to find the right professionals to team up with. I always say in training meetings to anybody, if you're brand new in the community, you don't know anybody, just find out who your friends and other people that you might know, CPAs and lawyers are. Call them up, tell them that you're from wherever you're at and what you do, that you might want to meet with them because you're changing who you're going to use to do all your tax work for your clients or your legal work or whatever it is that they do, and that your client told you, or the person that knows them, that we had to meet before you made your decision. You're looking for 2 CPA firms for our clients too, and that's why you're calling. Now you have to meet with a lot of them to find the right ones, but once you find 1 or 2 or 3, then I think it's game over. Target a market, talked about that already. Choose a market that you want to dominate within 3 to 5 years. I would say there's a pretty good chance that this guy over here has a lot of teacher clients and know other teachers that he can get referred to very easily, okay? Put an ongoing list of people in that market, such as dentists in Las Vegas. I just came back from a trip from Florida where there's a friend of mine, a company based out of Pittsburgh, literally has 65% market share of dental specialists in the country. 18,000 orthodontists, oral surgeons, you name it, endodontists, okay? How do they do that? They join the associations that the dentists belong to. They go to all the meetings. It's a third-generation family business. They sponsor events. They get to ask the clients that who else do you know on the list? And there you go. And finally, to me, what separates the Joe Pantozzi's of the world and the average producers of the world is really this. I think everybody needs to know why they're here. So a vision and mission statement in writing is something I think everybody should have. You should all have long-term, 3 to 5 year long-term for me. You've heard this before, BHAGs, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals, things that are really out there. Then 3 to 6 month intermediate goals that are a stretch but doable. But here's the difference. I think the most important thing that separates the multi-million-dollar producers and everybody else is what do you do on a daily basis, the 1 or 2 things that'll give you the highest probability of hitting your 3 to 6 month goals. And if you can do that daily discipline, and it's not easy, then I really think it makes a difference. And that's how people get to the top of the table and way beyond. I recommend you laminate 2 of these things and put 1 in your shower and 1 on your desk at your office. That's one way to learn how to do it better. That's it.
Thank you, Jimmy. So, Jimmy, you can stay up here. I'm going to call the other 3 speakers to come and grab a seat. In the meantime, let's see, who can I pick on? Frank, may I ask you to take this bowl and see if anyone has any questions to throw in there? Oh, walk around, yes. Sorry. So, questions in the bowl. Come on, Neil. I know you have a burning question. what is the best way to track whether or not you are on pace for MDRT?
Give it to me. I guess I'm the longest member here, probably not the highest, but the longest. The thing to do is just break it down to daily goals. If it takes $150 or $60,000 of premium, you just break that down into a week, and you know how you have to get that much every week, and how much per day to make the goal to, make the MDRT.
Or just answer the next question, what are the qualifications for MDRT? So
I don't know.
it's approximately 90,000 of first year commissions.
First year commission.
And they credit different product lines differently. Investments are credited differently than life insurance. So, and you can visit mdrt.org for more information. Next question. Many companies in our industry don't offer or restrict agents from providing index products, annuities, life insurance. Why do you think that is? So many companies in our industry don't offer or restrict agents from providing indexed products, which include annuities and life insurance. They don't offer or restrict. A little confusing.
I'll take it. It's more of a complicated product. For those of you that sell indexed products, more complicated. It's targeted to seniors a lot, at least the annuities were, and it's just got a lot more regulatory scrutiny. So I think the broker dealers out there, so the reps are involved with broker dealers. That's one of the reasons. It's just more risk, more liability for the carriers. That's all, and the companies, distributors.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I think anything too that's going to be targeted towards somebody 55 and older is always going to be under a little bit more scrutiny should be under a little bit more scrutiny from us, from our company, from our broker dealer, and from the regulators.
The next question is, looking back on your first couple of years in the industry, what was the best practice you adopted that contributed to your making it and not failing, as 80 or 90% of 80 to 90% of agents do?
I'll go ahead and answer that one. I think I've been asked that not just as a $1 million roundtable qualifier before, but from in many instances in my career from others from Horace Mann. But first and foremost, I think the continuing education, getting into the designation education, because I can remember, I took my first class 3 or 4 months after I started in the business, and I was using things that night to sell a policy that I learned in class that day. And so if I were to give somebody any advice, it'd be start taking LUTC courses and then keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah, just to add to that, I would say in order to practice those things, you got to have people to sit in front of. And that comes down to setting appointments. And that's just activity. And that's something from the beginning that I was taught. And it's really simple. I follow to this day, and that's setting at least 2 appointments a day. That if you can see a couple of people and set appointments for some time down the road, good things are going to happen. I mean, so again, kind of like my first slide, show up to work every day and have a plan and have at least some minimums that you want to set. Again, you got to see people.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things: work more than anybody else around you, and do joint work with people like Joe Pantozzi in your office. That's it.
So the next question is, when do you cut a prospect loose and not call him or her anymore? So to rephrase that, when do you cut them loose when they're wasting your time, or how do you know they're wasting your time?
For me, I don't know. You got to feel it out. If you really think they're wasting your time, drop them, move on. I've had other times where set it aside, call them in 6 months. You never know what they have going on in their lives. They may, make all kinds of excuses, but I found that eventually, if you come around to see them and it comes back to that, they would tell you, I had this going on, I had that going on, I didn't tell you, I was actually getting a divorce, it was just a bad time. So you never really know. Again, it's just kind of a feel thing. Other times it feels really good. Throw the file in the trash and move on.
I think I'm the same way. When you first start in the business, you never give up, and then I think you start to develop a sense of when someone isn't worth your time and efforts anymore, and that's really hard to tell somebody what that point is. I think early on in the career, but as you do start to develop a sense of how people act around someone when they know your goal is probably to sell them something, until you develop that sense, it's probably pretty tough to say no. But I think that that keep going, and you'll eventually get that sense of when it's time to give up.
Yeah, we used to call those people China eggs because they never hatch. Yeah, I think everything what everybody's commenting on, but a lot of times if you ask them, when would you like me to check back with you? And they say, never. Well, that's a good point right there. I mean, you might say, fine, But if they say, call me in 6 months, and they might just be putting you off, but who knows what's going on in their life. And but ask them when would you like to check back, so.
Next question. Hello, my name is Kyle Turpin Jr., and this is my third day as a financial agent with Mass Mutual. And I've yet to make a call. Okay. I've yet to make a call. I haven't been on my first prospect meeting or anything like that. So I guess the question is, what are the top 3 things that you would advise me on as far as leading into that first meeting? Like when I'm in my car, sweating and going over all of my information in my head, what are the top 3 things that I need to remember to remain composed?
Just remember, it's all about them. It's about the client, not you. So I think that's the biggest point you have to make. Remember that you're there to find out about them and what you can do to help them. And if you can solve their problems, you make them better off, you'll be better off.
Along those same lines, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen more than you talk.
I would say just make a friendly call, or to go back to the sports reference, even UNLV, guys don't get out there on this court tonight and start shooting threes. Call what I would call a layup. You want to have somebody that will take your call, be friendly to you, kind of get you in the mood to make the next call, and then just go from there.
I was going to reiterate what he said. Just make sure you ask good questions and you listen more than you talk. But going back to the other thing about when do you cut a prospect loose, I think way too many times we in this business chase our prospects more often than they're chasing us. And while it's easier to get into our industry than it is to become a lawyer or a doctor, I think our attitude needs to be more of a professional that is being sought after versus us chasing so much,
Next question was about priorities. How do you prioritize your day when it comes to just overall managing the business and running the business?
Again, that's going to be different for everybody. As I said earlier, I tend to be an early bird, so again, I'm up early, sending emails. It's not unusual for clients to get an email at 5 in the morning, and don't think that doesn't go unnoticed. But if you're not an early bird and you're staying up late, getting it done then. So again, we don't have exactly a 9 to 5, so everybody's going to structure their business a little bit different. Again, there's not necessarily a wrong or a right way. It's just at the end of the day, are you getting done what you need to get done?
That's a good question, Mahesh. I think this is probably for me personally, the most important routine that I go through. And I learned from a business coach that I respect a lot that before you go home or before you finish the day, you prioritize the top 6 things that you want to do the next day. And I actually try to schedule it on the calendar, try to time out how much time it's going to take to do it, and do the best job I can of keeping them track of getting those 6 things done.
I think for me that before the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, I'm always checking my email and listening to the voicemail messages. And some things can be put off, but if a client has a question, that's probably my number 1 priority, because that's where keeping someone happy, keeping someone engaged with me is incredibly important to keeping them as clients, and also hopefully them generating additional business opportunities for me through their coworkers and friends. But I'd say at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, I don't go home unless all the client questions have been answered that can possibly be answered that day.
Yeah, I'll echo all those things. You always return phone calls and return them as fast as you possibly can. One of the little things as far as sales goes, we all keep little lists, and what you have 1 through 10, here's your top 10 prospects, and what happens is you wind up selling 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you don't get to 5, and then you replace 1, 2, 3, 4 with other small ones. All your big cases, the hard cases, are at the bottom. They're 8, 9, and 10. So because they're the ones you want to get to, but you never seem to. So what I've done or tell people to do in the past, and what I did, is just take your list and turn it upside down. Start with the hard ones and then work down. The easy ones will come anyway.
Hi, my name is Glenn Cordero. I'm also brand new with Mass Mutual. First off, thank you for the information. Now, naturally, it might differ from each of you, but I was wondering if there was, in your first years, an outlying or overshadowing challenge that you folks faced, and how did you guys go about solving that issue?
I was broke. It was my biggest challenge, and I was trying to build a business with no money. And the only way that I could figure out how to do that was one of you guys said show up every day. That was you, right? I think one of the most challenging things about this job, and one of the best things about this job, is the exact same thing, and that's freedom. And if you can't handle the freedom, then you're going to really, really struggle, because for most of us, we're not punching a clock. And if we don't show up every day, whether we've got something to do or not, we're probably not going to be successful. If you don't have anything to do that day, go to work, come dressed to play, and find something to do. If that means going out and getting in front of people calling up one of your friends and taking them out to lunch or whatever. I mean, like I said, I think the best and the most challenging thing about this job is the freedom. And if you can't handle that, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. And so that would probably be my biggest challenge in the beginning. Anybody else?
Yeah, that self-discipline is extremely important, and just pushing yourself to make that extra call, one more call. I heard the old guy says, I sold more than anybody when I was a new agent. I sold my car, I sold my golf clubs, yeah. So but you absolutely have to just make the calls. You have to see the people, which we already heard. STP, see the people.
For me, it's something that what I found from even guys 30 years in the business at times doesn't change, and that's just call reluctance. It's just picking up that phone and making the calls that, to be honest, we don't always want to make. I grew up here and I drove my managing partner nuts when I first started because I refused to call anybody that I know. I'd rather have a cold call hang up on me than a friend of mine. So, you just learn to deal with those things differently. But, a lot of things change, but at times they stay the same.
I don't think it's changed. I think it's trying to find enough good prospects to turn into clients. I think it's a challenge for everybody, regardless of what experience level or how big of a producer they are or not. But I would say that also, you can sit in the office and do a lot of things that what I would refer to as a non-billable hour. So if you think about the concept of, if you're an attorney, just got out of law school and you go work for one of these big firms here in Las Vegas, how many hours do they expect you to bill the first year? Anyone? 2,000 at least, right? And what can you bill for? Can you bill for running an illustration? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not, though. In our business, it's probably trying to go find a client and be face-to-face with the client, right? So the concept of having billable hours and not wasting time at the office on things that are administrative during peak selling hours, I think that's a big concept to understand.
I used to tell a story when I'd give big speeches about the farmers. This farmer gets up in the morning, gets his 2 sons, and they go out and they feed the cattle. They feed some, hogs. They get baling wire, get all the machines loaded up, get everything ready. They come in about 6 in the morning and have breakfast. So as soon as breakfast's over, he pushes his chair back, says, "Come on, boys, let's go to work." They said, "Work? What do you think we've been doing the last 2 hours?" He says, He says, "Those were the chores. that works in the field. So don't get caught up in chores in the office. Anything you can delegate to a $10 person, give it to him. You make a lot more than that.
Wow, a lot of wisdom here. So please give a round of applause to our program.